You're listening to The Vocal Minority with Nick Reynolds and Steve Harness.
Hot. How much time?
You're hot.
I love scotch. I love scotch. Scotchy, scotch, scotch. Here it goes down into my belly. That is good.
You're on the air.
How are you? You look awfully nice tonight. Maybe don't wear a bra next time. How much time until we're on? What?
We're on the air right now.
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Time will tell if we are.
The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. We're always ready for something.
Booyah.
Welcome to the program. Hey, if you want to get in contact with us, the easiest way is just to go to our website, thevocalminority.net.
Yes.
And then you can just message us right through the website there. And we've got all kinds of other social media. What are they, Steve?
Yeah, we're on them. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. And we're on Twitter. Some version of the Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve for all of those. And a gigantic thanks to everyone who's been watching all of our videos and sharing and commenting, because big show today, of course, everybody. We have plenty of news stories that we need to get to. We do have some personal updates and whatnot. We have a guest we're going to talk with today, though, and he's actually sitting in our lobby, so I guess, guys, we can bring him in anytime, but let's set this up. I don't often recall us having guests on the show that I'm sort of morally on the fence about, wondering if it's actually a good idea to even discuss the topic. But
okay,
one of our global listeners, I had mentioned that we have somebody listening in England, somebody's listening in Belgium, and somebody's listening in Malaysia. Well, I know who the person listening in England is now because they reached out to us, and he's got a website that at first. What?
Is it Jim Slip?
I don't know who that is, so the answer is no.
Okay.
The guy's got a website that I thought was about how to catch people when they're cheating in a relationship. You know, like that TV show Cheaters, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I kind of glanced over the email. I was like, hey, cool. The guy from England reached out, and he was like, I got this website about cheating, and, I'd love to come on the show. And I thought, hey, cheating, like, yeah, it's a universal topic. So it turns out, though, his website is about how to get away with cheating.
Yeah. When I went to his webpage, then I noticed, there's plenty of testimonials there, right? That say, been married 34 years, got a wife and a lot of side pieces, and I've never been happier. So, yeah,
and
this guy teaches people how to cheat and not get caught.
Yes. And he won't come on camera with us. He's going to phone in. And I was like, why won't you go on camera? And he's like, isn't it obvious? So he's married or in a relationship and is clearly cheating. So he doesn't want his face on our show. But yeah, he's going to call in. And like I said, we're not doing this as a pro-cheating segment because I think cheaters are, skanky pieces of shit. But
I told my wife before we getting ready to do the podcast, I was like, hey, we're having a guy on today that's going to help me cheat flawlessly. Right. And she had her glasses on and she looks at me like, yeah, you want to do that? I was like, I'm just kidding. My God. Right. You're not even supposed to joke about cheating anymore.
Yeah, I don't think those jokes will go over well in your average relationship. Have you guys seen the TikTok videos where people will, like the guy leaves the house and he'll text his wife and say, hey, I'm leaving now. I'll be there in 5 minutes. And then the wives always come running out. Why, you motherfucker? What are you doing? Like it's a joke. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't think those jokes usually go over very well. I will point out this, though. I would think if you take his advice and reverse engineer it, you could see if somebody's doing it to you.
It's exactly what I was thinking, dude. I mean, this can benefit everybody who's listening. And it'll be interesting at the very least. Why do you call him Dark Horse?
That's what he calls himself. Again, he's not willing to show his face, so I assume he's not willing to use his real name either.
He's like a Trojan slipping through.
I guess so. I mean, I suppose these are all questions we can ask him, and if we have the time or desire, we can get his take on British food, since that's where he's at.
That's always a possibility. Are you ready for this, Brewski? You're not too upset, are you?
No, I'm good. All
right. So we got the cheater, and then we've got other stories to get to. We've got STDs to talk about today. We have fast food restaurants. We have marijuana we'll be discussing at some point here.
Yeah.
All sorts of fun things here on the Vocal Minority Show. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Let's head on over to the dark horse, dude. Now with this talk, I'm
all right.
Getting
I'm
excited.
admitting him now. Let's. I don't even know where to start with this, other than to find out how did this become the hobby.
Dark horse, can you hear us? Hello, dark horse.
Hello, sir. How are we?
There he is.
Oh, you
Hey.
are a champion.
What's up, Doc Hoss?
Welcome
are
to the
you
program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
You're
welcome.
very welcome. Steve came across your email after you reached out to us, and we were like, a couple of days before that, we were like, who's listening in, where were they?
England.
Liverpool?
No, well, Dark Horse and I were discussing that. This geo-tracking is not pinpoint accurate. It's kind of wherever your server is. So he's somewhere in England. What does it matter? He's our English listener. Dark Horse, do you feel good about the fact you're the only person in the United Kingdom currently listening to us?
I actually do. I'm incredibly flattered. But to be fair, it is 11:30 at night on a Monday. So hopefully most people are tucked up in bed with a nice cup of cocoa.
Nice. Yeah, well, we'll be posting this, so the Brits can find it in the morning, I guess. So
Exactly.
yeah, and start telling some people. God damn it, we need some more people over there listening. So
No problem. I'll be sharing it on my social, so don't you worry.
nice.
Oh, fantastic.
You know, it's interesting that we can't see what he looks like because just hearing his accent, we were talking about the fact that women love accents. Now, there in England, you don't have an accent, but over here you do. So you're already turning on listeners.
Fantastic. What can I say? It's women watching too many Hugh Grant movies. I blame Hugh Grant, or thank him, should I say.
I think that's probably true. We were talking about how just women love these accents, and Hugh is probably the original of that. My wife or my mother have loved him at one point based off his accent. Obviously not his behavior, because he was screwing women behind his wife's back in a car at one point. Prostitutes, right?
Yeah, it was a tranny, too.
I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, really. What does that matter? I'm really attracted to Paddington Bear. So just hearing you talk, it's got me all warm and fuzzy. So
Fantastic. Well, we've been in the news a lot. A lot's been happened with our royal family. So I suppose all the worldwide press has been featuring British accents of late.
yes. Yeah, it's been a big horny fest over here. All right, Dark Horse. So let's get into this. So we were just talking about the fact that when you first reached out to us, and I appreciate you doing that, I sort of just skimmed through it all, and I saw that you had a website about cheating, and I assumed that it was how to discover if somebody in your life was cheating on you. But it turns out your website is actually about how to get away with cheating. Is that
That's
correct?
actually right. Quite the opposite from what you initially thought. So my website is not necessarily. I mean, people mistake it for catching cheaters or helping people cheat. It's neither of those. It's certainly a website to help people who already cheat get away with it.
I see. So you're not trying to plant the idea, but if you're already a cheater and you go to cheatershandbook.com, you're saying you can help them, perfect the art?
Correct. Yeah, a little bit of tradecraft never hurt anyone. You can ask the CIA. But yes, absolutely. The whole plan is helping cheaters not to get caught, being sensible about cheating. The truth is, if you look at, I know you guys have heard of sites like Ashley Madison, which are sort of famous for people who cheat to find other people who cheat.
Yeah.
And even despite the fact they've got allegedly a whole number of bots, I mean, they still have 60 million users.
Wow.
And that number tells you a lot about the world of cheating. If you were to go by their numbers, there's 60 million people who are either curious, have cheated once, or are regular cheaters. And so I know I'm not in the minority, but what I thought is too many people make amateur mistakes, too many people get caught whilst they're at it. And I, as a joke, really thought, well, what would happen if I started a blog helping people get away with cheating? And it sort of started as me having kept the cheating a secret, even from my own friends, for well over a decade. And it got to a point where I just needed a place to outlet stories, journeys, mistakes I've made. And within a couple of blog posts, the British press picked up on it, and we started to get a little bit of quite a lot of virality.
Wow. Oh, now you are a champion.
So, do you feel terrible about this, or is cheating just something that you're comfortable with, and you figure why not help?
Do you mean, am I comfortable with cheating on my own wife, or am I comfortable helping others get away with it?
I would say both. I mean, I'm not a big fan of cheaters, so it seems like it's like if I had a website on how to get away with murder, like I would feel a little dirty about trying to help people be better at a bad thing. But yeah, where's your moral compass on all of this?
Oh God! So something I get asked, obviously, on every podcast. And this is going to sound like maybe semantics or me justifying it to myself, but even though I do cheat, I don't consider myself a cheater. I almost feel you've got to be caught to be called a cheater. So I feel like I'm
semantics.
Right? Yeah, that's semantic. Okay.
I feel like I'm someone who cheats. I have 3 young children, and a lot of guys with kids will understand that once you've had kids, you're sort of at the bottom of the pecking order. You're at the bottom of the ladder in terms of getting attention. And it was just something I've done since even before I was married. Unfortunately, I've done it for so long that it's become a big normal part of my life. But definitely, I want to say to your listeners, I acknowledge cheating is wrong, and I acknowledge that I'm broken. On every piece I write for the media, that's something I sort of say at the beginning, that I know this is so wrong.
I respect that. I mean, I respect that you say it's wrong. You respect the responsibility is the issue with it all. But I want to ask you this, Dark Horse: did your dad cheat on your mom?
Not that I know
vice
of.
versa.
Not that I know of.
He might have just been really good at getting away with it. He might run in the family DNA.
It might run in the family.
You could be second generation.
Dark Horse, are any of your kids, do you have a daughter?
I have 3 daughters, yes.
So how would you feel if down the road some guy is reading your blog and using it to cheat on one of your daughters?
Oh, God. Well, my oldest is 8, and if I've still got a blog by the time she's dating, I'll definitely be doing something wrong. At some point, this blog will disappear.
Okay.
Especially when, the same press that I write for suddenly decide to turn around and go, let's unmask Dark Horse, and decide to hire a private detective to track me down. So I think it's about leaving on when I've sort of hit my peak with all the writing versus when I'm discovered. That's the art, knowing when to leave a party.
Well, you said you started this off as kind of a hobby or an outlet for yourself. Have you monetized it?
No, not at all. I sort of have a form saying, if you want some relationship coaching. So how I framed it is I said, cheating has to be the hardest form of dating. And if I can be married and see multiple women and you're single and having issues, then perhaps you should call me. Again, in jest, I've had 6 emails. I throw out ridiculous sums. I'm like, I charge $1,000 an hour, which obviously I don't. Sure. And then I never hear from them again. So there's some people who do write to me and do want help. But no, I haven't monetized it. The plan to monetize it will simply be like most blogs. Get a huge amount of traffic and put some ads on it and just let it tickle over in the background.
Interesting. Yeah. So you said you've been a cheater since before you got married. So like high school even, or you've just always been a cheater?
Since the age of 18, I was one of those unfortunate kids that didn't do very well in my teens with women. And then after I sort of turned 18, I discovered something called the gym. And decided to hit the gym and buy some better clothes. And I don't mean designer, but I mean clothes that actually fit me. And that gave me a new level of confidence. And so I got my first girlfriend at 17, 18, and then accidentally got another one. And I went, wow, this is a bit of a game. And let's just start collecting them and see how we get on.
And do they know that they're the other woman? Do they know you're cheating on someone else?
Yeah. So in the last 10 years, I've tried everything. I started by telling women I was single. I said I was separated. I said I was divorced. It's kind of hard to hide 3 car seats in the back of a car and remove them. And then about 6 years ago, I thought, well, what would happen if I'm just honest and say to women, look, I'm actually married. I do this because I like the attention. And I started discovering a better quality of affair partner. Wow. So women who didn't want a guy with baggage, women who just wanted to have a bit of fun, have some attention. And it eliminated the risk of them showing up at my doorstep going, oh, my God, I can't believe you didn't tell me you were married.
No one's ever fallen in love with you and showed up at your doorstep?
I've had one person who's fallen in love with me, and I stupidly fell in love with her. She was the only person I ever considered leaving my wife for. But no, luckily, no one's ever shown up to the door.
You broke your own rules, Dark Horse. You broke your own rules.
I broke my own heart.
Wow. All right, we're talking with Dark Horse, the mystery man behind cheatershandbook.com, a man who teaches you how to be better at a terrible thing. So my question, Dark Horse, based on your experience, are cheaters always cheaters, or can someone cheat once and then just be done with it?
You know, to be really honest, I mean, obviously I don't speak on behalf of everyone who cheats, but what I would say is we're all individuals, and I have friends who've had drunken nights out and have had a one-night affair and have spent the last 5 years feeling guilty about it. Whilst I also have other friends who have plenty of one-night stands and flings and mistresses. So I suppose we're all unique. I think that the honest answer is some people will cheat once and then the guilt and the moral compass kicks in and they'll never do it again, much like touching a hot plate. And I think for people like me, you try it once and there's a buzz and a thrill and a high. And you'll do anything to chase that high.
Do you have any thought about your wife cheating on you? I mean, do you worry about it?
Yeah, so I get asked that all the time. I mean, I do worry about it, but she's an incredibly busy woman and she's very busy with work, her business and our kids. And, statistically, the chances are quite low of that happening. But it has crossed my mind. I mean, it would be the ultimate fuck you. I'm not allowed, I don't know if I can swear on this.
You can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, great. It would be the ultimate fuck you to me. So
how would that land, do you think? Would you high five her? Hey, you pulled it off. I didn't know. Or would it devastate you?
It would probably devastate me. I know. I'm a hypocrite. Look, I like my cake and I want to eat it. And I'm the ultimate hypocrite.
I appreciate your honesty.
I'm no narcissist, but I certainly am a hypocrite.
It's interesting how honest you are for a guy who's teaching how to lie. Does anyone else see the irony there?
I'm not teaching people how to lie. I'm teaching people how to cover their tracks, and there's a distinction in that.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. So get into it then. What are the top 3 mistakes people make when they're out there cheating?
Oh God. Well, it's you've heard the phrase, right? It's never the crime, it's always the cover up.
Yes.
Most people would get away with cheating. I think the most embarrassing cheaters in my eyes are the ones that feel so guilty they confess. I mean, that's amateur mistake 1.
Okay, so no morals. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah,
Deny.
Yeah, die with that lie. I don't know if you guys are into the mafia stuff, but John Gotti said, if you rob a church and get caught with the steeple sticking out of your ass, you still deny it. And I kind of, that's a lot like me. The second thing is most people get caught on their phones, right? Your phone is a beacon. You'll be messaging someone back and forth, and that's ultimately what gets you caught. And then the hard evidence, the smell of perfume on your clothes, hair in the car, hair where it shouldn't be. And so the simplest things, credit card statements, et cetera. I mean, the most things that we think are so basic, that's what gets people caught.
How many cell phones do you have?
Right, I was going to say, how do you cover those tracks?
So I have a burner. Oh, this sounds terrible. I have a burner phone, which my assistant manages, and then I obviously have my own normal phone, which I carry around.
Have you
ever use on my normal phone? I use a secret apps like Kik and like Telegram, apps that my wife has never even heard of. And if I'm very close to that particular affair partner, I will chat to them from my own handset. But they're self-deleting messages. So on things like Telegram, it will self-delete after a few seconds.
Wow.
It sounds like you've got it down. How many years have you been a cheater then?
God.
I don't know
Since
how
long as I'm 40 now, and I've been cheating since I was 18, 19. So for a while.
All right.
And I've been married for 10 years.
You think you got more than 10,000 hours into it? Are you a master?
I don't know. And people have got, how many affairs have you had? I've never counted. How many women have you slept with? I've never counted.
What's your guess, though? What are we talking? Dozens, hundreds, what?
Dozens.
Okay.
Okay.
And how are you staying disease-free from all of this? Are you practicing safe sex, or you throw it all to the wind? Yeah, no, safe sex and regular checks at the doctor. He's obviously in the know of my activities. And I have plenty of friends who are doctors, so I get plenty of tests done regularly. But I practice safe sex. I mean, for me, it's interesting that you brought the sex up because a lot of people correlate cheating to sex. Yeah.
And if you've been doing it for as long as I have, it actually isn't about the sex. It's about getting attention. It's about someone listening to you without saying, take out the trash, pick up the kids. It's almost like having someone to have intimate moments with without them being interrupted with other sort of regular house day-to-day shit. And so
why don't you just emotionally cheat then?
I do that a lot as well, actually. On Instagram, you'll meet women across the other side of the world, and there are 3 or 4 women that I talk to regularly, and it's almost like we're in an affair, but we've never met. We'll FaceTime, we'll chat.
What's the difference between an emotional affair and just having a friend? Are you sexting or something? Is it getting dirty?
Yeah. Was it when Harry Met Sally, or one of the movies where it goes,
yes,
women and men can't be friends? And I actually do believe that. I think the only time women and men are friends is when the man is trying to sleep with the woman. I mean, I have a few friends who are women and they're a bit like sisters, and it would never happen. But I typically, I can't imagine how that would go down with my wife if I said, hey, that person's a friend of mine, we're just going out for dinner. Much like I would probably have something to say if she was going out with a bloke or a guy for dinner.
Interesting. One of my best friends is a woman, and I do think of her as a sister. So,
right.
And when I first got with my ex, she was very suspicious of the whole thing, and I explained, like, she's like a sister, like there's no part of that going on. But yeah, you're right. It's, I guess, complicated a lot of times when men and women are friends.
Right.
You feel like this, the fact that you get to live life on your terms makes you a better father?
Definitely. I wrote about that in my first blog. I think I'm more present at home. I'm more fulfilled with life. I think, you guys have an interesting gig in the fact that you get to interview different people, so your days are never really the same. But most men out there have pretty monotonous lives, right? They're at work, they go home to their family, and then the next day it's like Groundhog Day. And I think what cheating has done for me is added a whole level of excitement. Without having to sort of look forward to the next holiday 4 months away. I have weekly excitement. I have something to look forward to every week, and that makes life incredibly exciting.
Do you still have regular sex with your wife? Like,
yeah.
Wow. So you're a fascinating dark horse. I'm trying to gauge you, and you don't sound like an asshole to me. You sound like a nice person and someone I would want to be friends with. But I thought I was going to think you were an asshole, and I don't. So
it's the accent. He just sounds nice. That's all.
Is it the accent?
I did a podcast, my first ever podcast I did last month, and the woman who interviewed me said the exact same thing. She goes, I wanted to hate you. I tried my hardest to absolutely detest you. But it's wrong, and you're so honest about it and you're not encouraging men to have affairs, that I absolutely, can't say anything bad about you, other than your moral compass is hugely fucked.
Right. Are you not encouraging men to have affairs? I mean, it kind of sounds like you're painting a roadmap, so that
he's
would
not
be
recruiting some. New. He's not recruiting
because
new
the new guys who are going to cheat. They're likely to get caught, right? They're going to make an amateur mistake, or they'll go to one of these dating websites. And what I'm not saying to people is come over and cheat. It's great. The trouble is, cheating is, if you take the fun aside, it is a big juggling act. It's mentally exhausting. It's hard enough to keep one woman happy, let alone several.
Right. I don't want to disappoint multiple women at one time,
Right, and it's expensive. I mean, let's look at the realism of it. Booking hotel rooms and restaurants.
Yes.
And,
does your wife think you make less than you do? How is that cash going away like that?
She doesn't see what I make. I own several businesses, and she doesn't know what I make.
Wow, interesting.
I provide, and that's all that matters.
The mama don't know money.
Exactly. The fuck you.
Anyone
money.
at any of the hotels you go to know you as a regular?
I never stay at the same hotel. Part of my tricks, I never stay at the same hotel. I have an Amex Platinum. I have a concierge at the other end of that phone, and she keeps a track of where I've stayed, and I never stay at the same hotel ever once.
Wow. And you mentioned not coming home, smelling of perfume and stuff. So is showering a part of your normal routine? How does that go?
Oh my God, it gets worse. Can I be really honest? It actually gets worse. So if I sometimes say, hey, I'm going to the gym for the day, I'm playing tennis, I'm going to hang out with some friends, and I leave the house wearing, say, a black T-shirt and blue joggers, I will have the exact same pair in the car, have my fun, shower, come home looking the exact same, but of course smelling fresh. Or should I say not smelling of perfume?
Right.
You don't find this exhausting?
It's exhausting. That's what I'm saying. There's something so wrong with me.
Well, you acknowledge you're broken, so I guess that's something. Let me tell you a theory I have about sex, and I'd be curious to hear what you think of it. And this was I think it was Dana Carvey did this in a stand-up bit when I was like, I don't know, 18, and I grabbed onto it. He said that he doesn't want to have sex with a million different women. He wants to find one woman and have sex with her a million times. Like, get one woman and just fuck her every way you can, do everything kinky you can. And I totally agree with that philosophy. I don't want quantity, I want quality. What do you think about that, Dark Horse?
No, I want quantity and quality. And I want variety. Think of it like Baskin Robbins. I want a bit of every flavor. So, my answer to that would be, once you've, fucked a woman a million different times, then what? And so that, it comes back to getting a bit of variety and having that excitement. And like I said, a lot of this isn't about sex. Sex is a great byproduct of cheating. But being able to feel like a high school kid, going for the chase, getting butterflies in your stomach, knowing that you've got someone else, it's confidence boosting. It does great things for your morale. And it adds another level of excitement to one's life.
Wow.
Have you ever got anyone pregnant?
No, never.
Just, are you rubbering it up, or what are you doing?
Rubbering it up, yeah. And luckily, nothing's broken. So nothing's ever ripped. And no, I haven't got anyone pregnant, thank God. But to be fair, if I'm really honest, most of the women I cheat with are professionals. They wouldn't want to get pregnant. Of late, I've been cheating with women who are married because I have less explaining to do. They're looking for some fun. They're looking for an outlet, as am I. And the last thing they want to do is go home pregnant. So,
yeah, that makes sense. Hey, Brewski, I saw some cringing when I was talking about quantity versus quality. Are you more quantity than quality?
Well, it's like Doug Stanhope says, once they've fucked all your holes a bunch of times, it's just going to get boring. And
you
I
guys got to get more
things.
Creative. I got a zillion ideas.
You're taking little responsibility for the sexual exhilarance in your relationship.
It's boring.
Have you ever looked internally? Are you boring in bed, Brewski?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, you mean because you have fetishes, or are you a great lover?
Well, I don't know. We've all heard earlier episodes of this show, and it's been a while since, so I don't think that's I can say I'm a great lover, but I can say that in my relationship, like my last relationship, it got very, very boring. It just did.
Right. It seems to me that if you're creative, it doesn't matter which hole you're sticking it in. It doesn't matter if it's Mary or Molly. Like, I'll have the same amount of fun over and over.
Oh no, it's completely different. And the reason why I say that is different people react to different things different ways.
I understand the exhilarance of it.
No. What I do to one person that may get her okay, but then another woman might actually like it and that sort of thing. And even if you ask what do you like and that sort of thing, it just gets boring after a while.
All right, so Dark Horse,
for different folks.
Let me ask you this question, Dark Horse: are there things that your wife won't do in bed that you then seek out with these other women?
No, not at all. It's not that. It's not. I mean, I know we're focusing a bit on the sex, but like I said earlier, I mean, the sex has. The cheating isn't about the sex. For me, as childish as it sounds, it is about getting attention. And so, what makes cheating fun is the secrecy. Sex is a byproduct, but I got to say, I love the chase. For me, that's probably the best bit of it all.
Do you have some buddies that you do it with, or do you ride solo, Dark Horse?
I ride solo.
You do?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't want to be blackmailed. I'm really conscious. Like, I'm really sensible. Oh, no, it sounds weird. Strange words to put in a sentence. But I am very sensible about how I cheat. I'm sensible about who I tell. And the last thing is, you could tell your best friends and they may innocently tell their wife, at least I'm not like Dark Horse. I don't cheat like him. She may be what? She tells her hairdresser, and then it Chinese whispers that shit all the way back to my wife. So
wow,
you got that shit locked down like
I was going to say, he has put some thought into this.
I'm disciplined. I'm I'm disciplined by nature. I'm a disciplined businessman. I'm a disciplined person, and I'm disciplined about the way I cheat.
I
you
feel
think
like
your wife would be more hurt by catching you cheating physically or emotionally?
Emotionally, 100%. And I think most women out there could tolerate a husband having a drunkard one-night stand. They won't tolerate a mistress because that's so much more, right?
How many of your affairs are ongoing versus one-night stands?
I don't do one-night stands and I don't do flings.
Wow. So
what does that mean? How long do they last?
Long-term, like 1 to 3 month affairs.
Okay.
Do you have a cutoff? Like after 3 months, we got to end this thing, or do you just take
when one of the parties starts to develop feelings, then that's the time to sort of hit the road.
And that is you sometimes?
Only once I've made that mistake, but generally it's them. Women will, I mean, it's such a terrible thing to say, but women typically get more, for them, sex is more emotional. And then the way they go about the affair is then more emotional.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you're saying that it's not necessarily about the sex for you. So then do you ever have one of these flings or long-term affairs or whatever you want to call it, where the sex is really not that great, but it was just the conquest to get there? Or is the sex always good?
Yeah, that's really common. That's sad and that's common and that's true. But yeah, that is probably a very fair assessment of the sex with some of these affair partners.
Do you ever feel dirty afterward?
I never feel dirty and I never feel guilty, hence the unbroken.
Never. Wow. That is fascinating.
Once.
I am at such an opposite level that sometimes I'll put some porn on my computer and jerk off. And as soon as I'm done, I'll be like, oh, I am such a filthy pile of shit.
Well, you are.
Come on.
That's how I feel after I eat a KFC, but never after
Wow. All right. What about swingers? Is that cheating? Is that a world you dabble in? Have you ever thought about asking the wife if she wants to bring some?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I'm too precious about her. And no, it's not a world. To me, that feels dirty. But I mean, far be it for me to judge. I'm sure plenty of people listening to this must think I'm, a narcissistic, disgusting human being. But no, it's not something that appeals to me, the swingers world. It seems too easy as well. I mean, that's a terrible thing to say. There's not much of a chase. You show up, there's a party, everyone knows what they're there for. I kind of like picking up one of the school mums that everyone thinks is attractive and no one has a hope in hell of getting her in bed. And I've done it. There's something quite a sense of achievement in doing that.
Do you have any line you draw? If she's married, if she has kids, is there any
lines other than I don't like to shit where I eat? So I try and if I meet someone locally, we'll make sure the affair happens far away. Last thing you want to do is be with your kids in the supermarket and you bump into them. But very few lines, in fact, recently, like I said, I prefer if they're married because there's less explaining to do. When I pick up, say, women in their 30s, they start off by thinking you're an asshole. You spend a couple of weeks, they start to get to know you, then you tell them you cheat, you dabble, they get completely curious. And I don't know, have you guys ever seen Boiler Room or Glengarry Glen Ross?
Yes.
It's that scene. It's AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action. And women who never set out to cheat with you go through that process and then you end up closing them. And that's fun. And women in their 20s couldn't give a shit whether you're married or not. So that's just, from my experience, something I've noticed.
Oh, is there a better demographic to cheat with then? 20-somethings, 50-somethings, what?
Yeah, it sounds horrible. Women who are 28 and 29 and women who are 38 and 39. Anyone hitting the next decade, they seem to have midlife crises, and that seemed to be easier to close.
Man, has Oxford called you to teach a course?
Well, I couldn't show my face. I mean, I've had couple of requests to be on TV. They're doing a documentary on Ashley Madison. I've had the producers contact me. And even the newspapers, they're like, we'll pay you $250 an article. And I'm like, if I give you my bank account, you'll know who I am. And so I'd rather write for free.
Wow. We got to get you one of those V for Vendetta masks or something.
Right.
Wow. Well, we're talking with Dark Horse, cheatershandbook.com. And as we've said earlier, I think we all kind of wanted to hate you, but you seem like a nice guy. And this is a fascinating discussion we're having here. Nick, thoughts?
Now you are a champion.
He does. Like I said, I think he seems like someone that we'd be friends with. You're also, you're very well spoken. You seem like you have feelings on some level of, I guess I shouldn't say that. Every level other than cheating. You seem to have feelings and kind of like a sensitive guy. So
well, he's acknowledging
you are
he's
an
got something
anomaly.
broken, and he's saying all of these women nowadays are also well aware he's cheating. So it's all consenting adults.
It's a new world, Steve. It's a new world where, what's that? Hey, Brewski, what's the show that's on Netflix that's all sex and teenagers now? You don't know what it is? Euphoria.
No,
That's what it is.
Okay.
Euphoria. Everybody's cheating these days. And I don't know. I mean, we're similar age to the Dark Horse. I don't know. I thought maybe it's a generational thing, but yeah, I don't know, dude. Everyone seems to be cheating. When I went and delivered pizzas, which I did for like a year during the pandemic to give myself something to do, all these kids I was working with were high school or like up to 25. They were all cheating all the time.
Hey, Dark Horse, how was cheating during the pandemic? Was that significantly harder or easier?
Not harder, because in England, if you left the house during the first lockdown, you could be arrested. All the hotels were closed unless you were a key worker, so a medical professional, which I'm not. And so instead of crying about it, I went out of my way to find doctors and nurses to have affairs with. And then they
you kidding me?
He's a problem solver.
But can I just say, let me tell you some of the positives about cheating. Other than it gives me a high, it's exciting. I am the best version of myself. So I go to the gym 4 times a week. I'm well dressed. Women don't want to cheat with someone they're like who they're married to. So if their husband's in a particular routine and is a couch potato and doesn't pay them compliments, I want to be the complete opposite of that. So I go out of my way to get a weekly haircut. I go out of my way to hit the gym. I'm in better shape today than I've ever been. And that's because, that's part of the cheating profile. And it's weirdly enough made me a better human being.
Does your wife stay in good shape?
Yeah, she goes to the gym 3 times a week. She's always done that.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Do you think you're going to stop at some point? You said you were going to pull the blog like when your kids get older, but do you think you're going to retire from cheating at some point?
I hope so. I hope I mature and grow up at some point. I mean, I really do.
Yeah, and it'll kick in any day, I'm sure. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, like I have said, a lot of us men have vices, and some men drink too much and some smoke too much. And, for me, my vice is cheating and needing that attention elsewhere. And, I think that is a vice. That is a problem. And I hope to kick the habit.
Wow.
This is this is not to dig into you personally, but are you in therapy? And the only reason I ask that is because you said you mentioned it to your doctor, he's aware, but if you are in therapy, do you talk about this?
No, I'm not in therapy. I almost feel that I'm not ready to give up cheating. And part of me feels that if I see a therapist, then it could push me down the road sooner than I'm ready to go down it.
Right.
I see.
No therapist is going to sit back and go, hey, what you're doing is fantastic. They're going to, at some point, they're going to, to do their job properly, they're going to go, what you're doing is so fucked up.
Right. They're going to challenge you.
Yeah. And that's the last thing I want. And it's the last thing I want to hear. I mean, I come on podcasts a lot and people will attack me and say stuff, or I'll write for certain websites where people have been cheated on, and you should see the hate mail I get and the vitriol. Yeah, I can put up with all of that, but sitting down with a trained professional who looks me dead in my eye and goes, "You've got to stop," I just don't think I'm ready.
Have you ever had a guy track you down? Someone, someone you're cheating with, husband,
no,
boyfriend?
Because the women I cheat with, I teach them all the tricks of the trade, and so I help them be careful. It's sort of part of the process.
Wow, I feel.
Did they sign an NDA?
No, they fucking should. That's a great idea. Put
it on the blog.
My lawyer's already making enough money off me. I might as well throw that into the mix.
Wow. I feel like I have to shower all of a sudden. I don't know. This discussion. All right, Dark Horse. As we wrap things up here, do you have any, words of wisdom, the golden rule? Just go to your website to read it all, or is there some starting point?
Anyone interested? I mean, I've not mentioned the site, and thank you so much for mentioning it a few times. If anyone's curious about how to get away with it, by all means, just subscribe. We're not selling anything. We're not out to push anything. But if anyone is on the fence about cheating, I would say don't do it. Don't open this door. Don't go down this road. Cheating can be addictive and it can be destructive. It can break up your family, can mess up your kids' lives. And if you are on the fence, then, don't at all do this. But if you are someone listening to this who is a regular cheater or who cheats once in a while, just be careful and learn how to be smarter about it. You know, the idea is to protect your family from your other life.
Wow. Have you ever had someone approach you and say, I'm married to a woman, but I want to cheat with a guy? You have any advice on that? Or is this advice gender neutral?
Yeah, it's gender neutral, but that scenario sounds great. You know, I've never had that happen to me yet.
Oh, well, there you go.
I have slept with someone who was a lesbian before, and she went back to being a lesbian, and that completely destroyed my self-worth.
Wow.
Are you bisexual?
No, I'm not.
Well,
I think I'd give him a whole new thing, though, to go down.
I am genuinely, as much as the cheating side sounds dirty and horrible, I am not into kinky stuff. I'm not into, you know, food products in the bed, whips, chains. I mean, I'm a pretty vanilla guy in the bedroom. You know, as long as they climax, I'm a happy man. But I have no kinks, right? This isn't about leading a wild sexual life or, you know, racking up the numbers. This is simply about having that almost girlfriend experience with one or more women. And right now I've got 3 different women on rotation.
Wow. That's the current stable right now? You've got 3 women?
Well, yeah, it's just worked out like that. And I'm trying to sort of get rid of one of them. She's starting to get a bit too emotional and sort of sending me gifts, which is always a red flag, and keep the other 2 going because, you know, gifts is a start and then showing up at the door is the next bit. So try and nip these things in the bud quite quickly.
What's your breakup advice? What's the best way to cut these things off?
Always, oh my God, now this is going to make me seem like a narcissist. So I was called manipulative, but it is a good strategy. Pick a fight and have her dump you. That way she doesn't show up to the house. If you're the person that does the dumping, she will resent you forever. Always let her feel like she's in control.
Wow.
You have designed a way to thoroughly not take any accountability for any of this.
This is really impressive how much thought you put into all this.
This is amazing.
As terrible as it is. Wow.
I don't know what to tell you, fellas. It's a fucked up life I lead.
Right. Here, I've got a theme song for your eventual new podcast here.
I just want bang, bang, bang. I don't want relationship. I just want bang, bang, bang. I don't want to know your name. I just want bang, 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 bang.
The Bang 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 podcast.
So we're not going with the James Bond theme tune.
Nah, I don't want to make obvious British jokes. That's fine. Wow. All right. Well, cheatershandbook.com, Dark Horse. I appreciate you listening to us over there. Please spread the word. I guess not to anyone you know directly, though, because that would be bad. Maybe tell the other women. We can get some of them listening.
Yeah, and you know, weirdly enough, all the women I date have seen my blog and they'll comment on it. And one of them has even asked to write for it. So yeah, it is turning out to be a bit of a twisted site at the moment.
You don't ever worry about being on a podcast and having your wife like going to the grocery store and tuning into a podcast you're on.
All the podcasts I'm on are American based. And so typically what you guys have with a limited listeners in the UK, that weirdly enough, what is my criteria? That works for me perfectly.
Nice. That's hilarious.
Sly bastard.
I hope we don't explode in the UK for your benefit.
Yeah, me too. I'll be begging to get this down.
I've been actually really harsh on Britain of late, and I didn't mean to, but I've been saying that I don't give a shit about the Royals, and I think British food sucks. Am I right or am I right?
British food absolutely sucks.
Yes.
I'm a huge royalist, you know, growing up in the UK, to know that the government is not the final authority, and in some ways I have to check with a higher power. That kind of works for me.
Yeah.
It keeps them in check, and I'm not a very political person, but to know that the Prime Minister has to have a weekly visit with the Queen and now the King, it's weirdly reassuring to me that we have our own version of checks and balances.
You feeling good about King Charles III? I've
met him. I've actually had dinner with him, and incredibly charming man. I'm a businessman, and the Royals bring in, I think, $4 billion a year in tourism. So in that sense, they do a lot for the country, and they bring awareness to a whole bunch of charities that most people will never have heard of. You know, good members of the royal family will do 200. God, the word's slipping my mind. It's so late here. It's past midnight. So they'll do 200 events a year, and 99% of them will be to charities. And they put a spotlight on charities that are struggling with funding, struggling with awareness, and a visit from Prince William will make or break a charity. And I think that in itself is amazing.
Hey, what about Prince Andrew? Isn't he a big cheater? You guys hang out?
Well, he got caught, so he's a fucking idiot. But,
Not one of your students, clearly.
no, clearly not. I got approached by the Metro newspaper to write about Adam Levine, about how he should have got away with cheating better. But Prince Andrew, a complete entitled, horrible person. But also, you've got to remember what life is like for people who are never going to be the heir to the throne. I mean, they live this weird life in limbo, and it's not something any of us can relate to, being the spare, and that's what they call them, the heir and the spare. And, to know that you're never going to get the top job and you just keep getting pushed down, it's almost hard. And these people are not.
He's only got one castle. It's lame.
And you're so compassionate, Dark Horse. I mean, you have so much compassion.
Harry and Meghan, on the other hand, have lost all popularity in the UK for going down.
Is that a racial issue? I mean, do you guys? Hey, Brewski, are you the expert here?
Yeah, pipe down, Brewski.
Dark Horse.
Racial, I would say a little bit. There's always going to be. So Britain is still stuck in that mentality that we used to rule the world. Right. And we learned something about Trump supporters, just as we did with Brexit voters here in England, which is they stay quiet until the day of the election. And then the silent majority suddenly come out of the woodworks. And it doesn't matter what your views are, but the data shows me that the silent majority always come out on the day of elections. And there's always going to be a huge part out that are not big cities, the London, the Liverpools, the Manchesters, like the small towns that are always going to be slightly old-fashioned, slightly racist. But Meghan lost her popularity in the UK by simply being rude, looking for the spotlight too much, trying to outshine the Queen. And that's something you don't do in a family like that. You never outshine the monarch.
I say screw the silent majority. We're all about the vocal minority.
We are vocal minority.
That's right. All right, guys, any last thoughts here for Dark Horse before we send him back out into the world of infidelity? and
we appreciate your time, Dark Horse. We know it's late there, so thanks for making it work today.
No problem. I came to my office. Obviously, I couldn't talk about this at home, hiding in the
I was going to ask, are you in the basement right now? So you're at your office.
I've come to my office where I can obviously speak freely. And I have an assistant who has an ironclad NDA. So she's the one that helped set up this interview. She sort of manages the email account.
You've never cheated with her?
No, she's not very good looking, and that's probably why she got the job. If anyone is interested in being more persuasive, and this isn't to do with cheating, I would highly recommend a book called Persuasion Engineering by Dr. Richard Bandler. Incredible book, very good for people to learn how to be more persuasive, whether you're single and looking to date more, whether you're cheating, whether you're involved in sales. That book I read when I was 18 years old, and it absolutely changed my life.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know what your businesses are, but I bet sales is some part of it, isn't it?
Sales is part of it, yeah, and I'm a phenomenal salesman. So,
I bet you are.
That book, yeah, and the movies, Boiler Room, Glengarry Glen Ross, and Wolf of Wall Street. In order to, if persuasion is your thing, because, up to some degree we all, use persuasion. Yeah. Those movies and that book, they're all life-changing.
Nice. All right. Well, this has been quite an interesting conversation. So, yeah, Dark Horse, we appreciate your time. Get some tea and go to bed. I know it's late there in England.
So much for no British jokes, hey?
Oh, I had to slip one in. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. Go fire your guns and we'll have a chat hopefully 6 months from now.
All right.
All right. Cheatershandbook.com. That's Dark Horse, everybody. So, wow. Interesting.
Another fine moment brought to you by the vocal minority.
I don't feel right about that, but for some reason that was a fascinating interview. I mean, that guy's really put a lot of thought into all this.
Oh, it was. Yes. I mean, yeah, it was exactly what we talked about before the show. Of just like, yeah, this guy or the whole process is fucked up, but this could be a good interview. It's very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of people who obviously cheat.
Yeah,
you're gonna get something from it. Brewski, are you a cheater?
No, I am not.
Have you ever?
Yes, I have.
What age
did you get caught?
If we could declare that anyway.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. What age?
Yeah, 20s. We're talking high school, 20. Yeah, okay, 20s.
Like early 20s.
Okay. And what was that about?
You
were bored with what you were with, or is it like him?
Yeah.
The thrill of the hunt, or what?
A little bit of both. I would say a little bit of both, you know. Yeah, it's just one of those things where I was with somebody and, you know, she wasn't really into it. I wasn't really into it. But now
so the relationship was starting to die on the vine, and then you started drifting elsewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You know.
See, this is what I'm saying. Like, if I ever got to that point, I would just end the relationship because what a pain in the ass. Everything he just ran through, you've got to be James Bond to get away with it.
And I am the guy who I couldn't do it. I mean, I'd have to. I would go home and admit it. I just couldn't live with it. Why do you shake your head? You don't feel the same?
No, me.
Bruce,
He's talking about me. I'm saying no. No, because obviously, I mean, if you're feeling like that's what you need to do, you know, it's kind of like saying, I feel sorry for murdering that person. Well, no, you didn't, because you thought about doing it and you did it. So don't try to come back to me afterwards and say you're sorry that you did it.
Well, I would say that's true if you've murdered one person and felt bad. If you've murdered 10, you don't get to feel bad on the 10th murder. Like he was saying, some people cheat once and they feel terrible about it and they never do it again. And others, you know, you see they can get away with it or see the thrill of the hunt or whatever it is.
But see, I don't even believe that people cheat once and that's it.
I don't either, for the record, by the way. But
yeah, you know. and also I will say that usually people that cheat don't just cheat on relationships. Like those are the type of people that will cheat in like a board game. They'll cheat on their taxes. You know what I mean? Because it's all kind of part and parcel of how you live your life.
Yeah. Well, interesting.
Well, fascinating, dude. Dark horse. It'd be fun to check in with him once in a while. I mean, the guy's got to get caught. It's just a matter of time, right? I mean, he's not going to have a perfect record.
Well, let's not cheer for the guy to get caught.
No, I'm not. Well, I don't. Actually, I kind of am, dude. I mean,
not me. I want to see him go and go and go.
I would like this blog to live on long enough that someday whoever is dating his daughter gets to get some wisdom from Dark Horse, and then does one of his.
Yeah, but the thing about it though is like, why does it have to be personal?
Well, listen, what he's doing right now, where he's saying that he's with other consenting adults who know he's cheating, it's close to being a swinger. I feel less, dirty listening to that story than just, I'm banging the coworker.
You don't think about his wife at all, dude?
No, listen, I'm not saying this is okay. I'm just saying, like he said, he's broken. What he's doing to his wife is obviously a terrible thing. But the women he's doing it with, at least they're all on the same page. He's not screwing everyone over. He's screwing his wife over, but he's doing the,
Brewski
consenting adult thing with the others.
No, why? I don't know who she is. That's not my business. What do I care?
She's the mother of his children.
Yeah, in principle, not knowing her personal.
Yeah, so what?
No, listen, cheaters that have a family behind them or they're cheating with somebody who's married, I mean, you're a fucking homewrecker, and that's a terrible thing for sure.
If I was cheating on Rachel, you wouldn't care?
Well, my loyalty is to you. First and foremost, to be quite honest with you.
Bro code kicking in, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, no, and I love Rachel, but at the same time, if she came to me and started saying to me, is Nick cheating on me? If I knew, I'm not going to say anything because I'm not going to give away your secrets. That's not my place to do that.
You know what? I feel the same way. I mean, I feel the same way as far as that goes. I just mean like you're friends with Rachel. Like, if I told you like I've been banging all these chicks, like there wouldn't be a small part of you, just even when we got off the phone, that you'd be like, I feel kind of bad for her. She has no idea.
No, because that's me injecting myself in your personal business.
Yeah, okay, I get it. I'm not judging.
No,
I would feel bad for Rachel, but I would also wonder what's going on with you. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I mean, if you came to me and you started asking me for advice and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing," now you're pulling me into the situation, and now you're asking for my feedback.
You're a good friend, Brewski.
If you came to me and said, "I've developed this terrible heroin problem," I'm not going to call your wife and tell her, but I'm going to try to figure out what's going on with you, man. That you've all of a sudden started this. So
right,
there would be judgment on that level, and but no, I'm not going to go narking on you right away.
Yeah, no, I get it. I wouldn't narc either. I don't think I'd be able to step back and be like, oh, God, I feel bad for so-and-so. Like, that sucks. But I wouldn't say anything. Yeah. All right? You got my bro code, all right?
Yeah.
Well, the only time I would narc on anybody would be like say, for instance, I have a friend and he's got a drinking problem. and let's say he's drinking, and I know that he's drinking and driving their kids around, then I'm going to call the cop. I'm going to call a wife and say, "Hey, listen, by the way, Joey was out drinking and everything, and he's got the kid. He went and picked up the kids, and he shouldn't have been driving. I tried to take the keys away." That's completely different because now you're not just you're putting people's lives in danger at that point.
Nick, can I tell you
had a good friend of mine call me and say, "Hey, can I talk to you about something?" I was like, "Sure." We had just been over at his house a day or two before this, watching a football game.
Dude, I told you not to tell this story. What are you talking? It's different friend.
This is different. I was over at his house watching a football game, and wife was there. Bunch of people were there. Calls me the next day. Is like, "Can I talk to you about something?" I was like, "Sure." He was like, "I'm worried about you, man." And I was like, "Well, I appreciate that. What are you worried about?" He was like, "You got a little problem going?" And I was like, I don't know what you're referring to, dude.
Let me run down the list. Which one are you referring to?
Yeah, because, according to my wife and my therapist, I have all kinds. Wait, can you be more specific? He was like, "You're using heroin, yeah?" Oh. And I was like,
"What the hell?"
"No, dude. No, I've never used heroin."
Needle marks on your arm? What the fuck is he looking at?
Oh, I see. And that's exactly, I was like, what makes you think that I'm doing heroin? It turns out his brother, who I'm also friends with, was over there that day, and he is an ex-heroin addict, and said, Nick seemed to be nodding off while we were watching that football game. Yeah. I was like, dude, I had a little bit to drink, and, it's getting late in the day. I may have been a little tired, but no, I'm not doing heroin. He was like, "You can tell me. I just want the best for you. You can tell me." I'm like, "Dude, I've never done heroin. I'm not doing heroin. I appreciate your concern." And he went another 10 or 15 minutes. I finally had to say, like, "Dude, I'm going to fucking hang up on you. I'm not doing heroin." Like, I'm not in denial, Nick.
You're in denial.
Yeah, it was like that.
No, Nick was just watching a Washington Commanders game. That's all.
It was all of that. It was a boring football game.
Dude, Nick knows the story. When I first took over the radio station here, I did a bunch of firings and a bunch of hirings, and I hired this young lady who seemed like, she had a good sales background, seemed competent and all that, but she would be sitting in my office and we'd be doing sales training, and she would just start falling asleep. Like, I'd be talking and I would watch her eyelids go down and she would just be sleeping.
Yeah. She nodded off
multiple times.
It was like, "Hey, dude, so-and-so's nodding off during meetings," like, while I'm asking her questions and talking to her.
I would be sitting there talking, like, it's all about the rule of three. Like, I know are you awake right now? Like, I'm talking to her and she's sleeping. And the first time it happened, I kind of poked at her. I was like, "Hello, are you awake?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm working overnight still, just transit." And I was like, "Oh, I've done that too. I get it. But it kept happening. The woman totally had a heroin problem.
And now we've never seen her again, dude.
No, that's how she was so thin. I now understand. So.
But that was an odd phone call for me to get, because it was someone who I care about a whole bunch and they care about me. It was, it was Dan who did that to me.
Yeah.
So
really?
Yes, dude. Oh. I've been friends with him for 25 years.
I was going to say, how far into the relationship was this? Early on, or
this was like 8 years ago. Wow. 7-8 years ago.
Wow. That's interesting.
And apparently, we've talked about it since, but he was just like, my brother, being an ex-heroin junkie, he came to me. So I thought, oh, he must know. So, and I was like, I appreciate your concern, dude. I'm glad you said something to me if you really thought that was happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an odd, because I couldn't, it was just like he kept thinking I was just in denial.
Right.
I was just like, hilarious.
Nope. That
is so funny.
The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Yes, hi. With all the suffering and injustice in the world, do you ever wonder if God really exists?
No.
Not for a second.
Not at all.
Great. Good conversation there.
Great heavens. What kind of radio show is this?
This is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.